Darren from Pro Sport, and today we're going to talk about how to choose your field hockey stick. Okay, so before we start to talk about this, I want to make it certain that it's all about your preference. So while I'll be giving a guide on how best to choose your field hockey stick, we understand that everyone has their own personal preference on stick with regards to length, weight, and all these different aspects. First thing we're going to start on is your length of stick. So you should really, first of all, put the stick on the ground next to you, and the handle, top handle of the stick should be reaching either hip height or just over hip height. And that's when you know it's a good enough length. Personally, I play with a 36.5 length stick. I'm pretty short and low to the ground, so it's a good feel for me to have that length. There are some players who might even be my height that play with 37.5 or 38-inch length sticks because they may want a little more reach when they're tackling, and that's perfectly fine once they feel comfortable with it. Right? We also have shorter length sticks from 30 inches all the way up to 38 inches. So it's just about making sure that you choose the right one that's comfortable for you. Okay, so next thing we're going to talk about is weight. Weight is also an important component when choosing a stick. It all depends again on your personal preference and how you feel about it. Usually the heavier sticks are more in tune for defenders who may want a little more weight on the stick to strike the ball or to make stronger tackles. Lighter sticks preferably would be more for the dribbling style players, the skillful type players who are playing the forward line or playing midfield. But again, these roles could also switch. Because I play defense, but I also don't do as much hitting or sweeping. I like to dribble a lot and maybe push the ball out. So I like to use a lighter stick. Alright, so extra light sticks would start at, let's say, between 520 and 530 grams. And then those heavier sticks, which would be up to medium or heavy, say medium sticks are about 560, 570 grams. So again, it's preference. Make sure you choose the one that feels right for you when you're dribbling, hitting, scooping, whatever skill you're doing. Make sure you have that nice weight point for you. Alright, the third point we're going to talk about is the composition of the stick. Most sticks, I say most of the higher range sticks are made with a carbon composition, and they vary in percentage. So you'll see 50% carbon, 60% carbon, all the way up to 100% carbon. And this basically means the more carbon there is in a stick, the stiffer the stick is, the more power it could transfer onto the ball. So preferably, I actually don't play with a 100% carbon stick. This one is 100% carbon, so you'll get a lot of power out of this stick with regards to sweeping or hitting. I like to play with an 80 to 90% carbon stick, so I could get still a little bit more feel when dribbling, when receiving, because those higher carbon sticks do tend to be a little stiffer, and you get a little bounce off of the ball when you're receiving, although you do get that power with sweeping and hitting. The beginner sticks don't have any carbon in them. They're purely wood or fiberglass sticks, and again, those are for more control and for beginners to get that kind of feel for control and dribbling, whereas they're not hitting or sweeping as much at that level. So again, make sure you choose that right level of composition for you. Right? Also with carbon, the higher the carbon percentage, obviously, the more expensive a stick will be. So also make sure you pay attention to that when you are choosing your stick. Okay, now we move on to the bow of the stick. The bow is basically the bend in the stick from the shaft, the start of the shaft down to the head of the stick. Right? There's a standard mid bow, which means that the bow starts more in the center of the stick, and you get a kind of natural gradual curve from the shaft all the way down to the head. But the more popular bows are the low bow and the extreme low bow. The low bow just starts just above the head of the stick, while the extreme low bow is a little closer down to the head of the stick. Alright, the purpose for this is obviously for more technical skills with regards to lifted skills, 3D skills, throwing aerials, doing drag flicks, so you get more underneath the ball when you're executing those skills. So again, it depends on the type of player you are. I personally play with the low bow because I like to get that nice feel when dribbling, and also to get underneath the ball, so it's easier to do hop skills and 3D skills. Right? Although I don't do as much drag flicking, it still helps me a lot with that dribbling skill and that close control. Okay, next we'll go on to the head shape. Head shape is also pretty important when you're choosing your stick. Although most sticks come with the standard J head now, there are hardly any shorties or middies or even maxis. Maxis are more for the beginners. But a nice J head gives you enough control and enough surface area to control the ball when you are dribbling, especially when you're going on the backhand side of the stick. The Adidas Chroma Skin, however, has a nice 3D head shape that covers a little more surface area. So if you do get a nice look at it, you can see there's a nice sharp little cut off here that gives you much more surface area than the standard head, and gives you much more to play around with when you're dribbling, especially on the backhand. You can see there's just a little more surface area there to play around with. So this is an interesting thing from Adidas that they brought in with their 3D head. Okay, next we'll go on to two aspects that are probably a little more of the elite players and in our elite range of sticks. We look at the shaft of the stick. So most of our elite ranges of the Bravo stick has this wave torsion box. The wave torsion box is implemented for a little more shock absorption when you're striking the ball, whether it be a sweep or a hit, so you don't feel as much of that that vibration through the stick, through the handle when you're striking the ball. It's a similar effect on the Adidas sticks, that they have this 3D geometry. It's almost shaped like a trapezium. It gives you that same kind of dampening effect, so you don't get that full glow of vibration. It's dampening, so you don't get that full glow of vibration when you're hitting the ball or sweeping the ball. Included in both of these sticks also is the drag flick concave. It's just a nice little arch in the stick that grabs the ball when you're utilizing a drag flick technique. Again, this is more for elite players who may need to execute the drag flick. So yeah, there's an important aspect when you're choosing your stick. If you are a drag flick specialist, then definitely drag flick concave will help you along that path. The last and probably most importantly for most of you would be price point. Price point is very important when choosing a stick, because you want to make sure you have enough budget to select the right stick for you. So our junior sticks typically range from $250. That's the starting point for the most basic junior stick. It's a wooden stick. And it goes up all the way to $600 for if you want a little bit of carbon in your junior stick. Senior sticks, the cheapest you'll get is at 500 TT, which again is a lower range of carbon, which may be about 40 to 50% carbon, all the way up to 100% carbon with our $3,000 Chroma Skin Adidas stick. Right, there are 100% carbon sticks that are at a lower price point, $1,500, $1,400 TT dollars. So you can check out our website and get a better idea of what's the right stick for you, especially budget-wise. Right, I hope this video was informative enough for you. And just remember, it's just a guideline. It's not a hard and fast rule that you have to follow each of these different steps to choose your stick, but it will help you along the way to choose the right stick for you.